Hi, I'm Zane,
I'm Megan.
Hi, Amazon.
and welcome to Note to Self, a mental health podcast where we talk about mental health related things. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about discovering new hobbies.
So I guess the question is, what is classified as a hobby?
That's a great question.
Well, I guess for starters, a hobby is something that's usually outside of school or work. So something that's not really related to what you already do as a career or things you do on a daily basis already.
Like an extracurricular.
Yeah.
It can be any activity, and for me, the way I tend to categorize hobbies is like you can't make a living off of them. Well, that's not. You can make a living off of them, but for me personally, the way I like to have my hobby set out is something where I can't make money off of. That way, it's easy to distinguish between my work life and my personal life and hobbies. So that's just something I like to do to categorize hobbies.
Cliche.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, so
Well, I mean, theater obviously started as a hobby, but then I was like, wait, I could do this and get paid for it? Yeah, I'd love to do that. So then I was like, I'd rather just do that. So like, I guess it's still a hobby. Like I don't currently get paid for it at the moment, but like it is one of my majors. So like, if I would be lying if I had said it wasn't at least part of a plan at one point. But yeah, I guess like hobbies is just for me something that I enjoy doing. Like a lot of school is stuff that I feel like obligated to do, whereas my hobbies I don't really feel obligated to do. I usually do them for fun. Even if I am obligated to do them, I at least look forward to them most of the time. So
That's good because you don't get tired of it then too.
yeah,
'Cause,
exactly.
Yeah.
And it recharges you, I think. That's one of the more important parts too. Is instead of like draining you further, it recharges you.
Yeah, and I feel like a hobby, which I guess like kind of in your case, you said like it was a hobby and then you kind of expanded on that. I guess it's kind of important to keep in mind, not important to keep in mind, but a hobby is usually something that is kind of low maintenance at first. And whether you want to expand on it, that's up to you. But it doesn't have to be something that requires a lot of money, a lot of,
Right.
yeah. Everyone has their own, I guess, level of a hobby and intensity.
Oh, yeah. I have like casual hobbies, and then I have hobbies that I've been doing for like so long that I've been just like honing my skill or my craft at it. So like I feel like every hobby is different, really.
that is true. Your hobbies are up to you, what you make them, and I think that's the beauty of them. It can be whatever you want it to be, and I think it being low maintenance is a very big thing. This kind of reminds me back to an earlier episode we did about passion, right? You can be passionate about something, and it helps you, relax, and it's easy to do. You can go for hours and hours and hours, but I think it's important to know that those can be two very different things, right? Being passionate in your work life is very important, but I feel like sometimes mixing your hobbies and your work life can be like a sticky situation, because then you feel trapped in like this endless loop. Because if that goes wrong for you, or if there's like a depressive era in that general area of your life, it can be bad because everything is built off of that, and if that breaks, then everything breaks. So to me, that's why I like to separate them.
Yeah.
So
I get that.
and kind of distinguish passions and hobbies, where passion helps you drive in your work life, and hobbies are there to wind down and relax.
I think that's why for me it's important to have many hobbies. I have a lot of hobbies, I would say. So like even if I do get tired of, if I'm working in theater and I get tired of theater, I at least have another hobby to look to. So, but also I just see them differently. So maybe that's why. I think it's really like subjective to everyone how they see hobbies.
Yeah. I know you said you have a few hobbies. Tell us. Tell
Oh
us
my
what your
gosh,
hobbies are.
where do I start? Okay, I've been singing since I was practically born. So that's been something, and that's also something that does at times feel like work, because I mean I don't perform super often or anything, but like it's more for like self pleasure and to like say, hey, I did that. So like recently I actually did perform a song that I had been working on for like 10 years. Um and like finally got the like last note, the glorious last note. And you know, with singing there's also a bunch of different like branches. So like there's singing in the shower slash singing in your room just for fun. And then I also did choir in school and various like extracurricular choir activities for probably like 8 or 9 years. So, you know, there's all that kind of stuff. And I would go to like singing camps. I would go to workshops. I would go to master classes, all kinds of stuff just to like, you know, participate in that. But also, I think some of the best times were just singing in my room and getting a really hard part of a song like figured out that I hadn't before. And even if I wasn't, it's just like for fun. I'm a very musical person, so like, um, singing has gotten me into other hobbies. Like, I taught myself how to play ukulele and stuff like that, so that I could accompany myself while singing. Um, and that's just one. I have a bunch of other hobbies. I think one of my favorite hobbies is just like learning. Honestly, I see it as a hobby because I do it all the time, regardless of school or anything. And it's not even necessarily academic learning, it's just learning random facts about everything. Sometimes I watch Jeopardy and I just try and be better than everyone on Jeopardy because I have so much random trivia knowledge that really no doesn't serve me any purpose in school or anything, and no one really needs to know it, but I know
Yeah.
it. So it's just fun to like participate in that and be like, hey, I know the answers to those questions.
I love that. What about you, Zan? Do you have any hobbies?
Yeah. So, well, I'd say I have a hobby. Actually, I'm trying to think. If I have one hobby or multiple hobbies. Because I actually, now that I think about it, I really like thought about it, right? Because for most of us, and I'm sure for a lot of people listening, we kind of just do the things we enjoy and we don't really label them,
That's
right?
good.
So right now I'm trying to put labels on it. So for me, I think the first thing that comes to mind is playing games.
Yes.
I love playing games, whether it's you know, video games or board games. I say that's a pretty big hobby of mine. Just you know, coming home, finishing your schoolwork, get all that all out of the way, just relax, play some games with people, connect. I'd say a hobby I've picked up recently is going on walks.
Ooh.
I'd call it a hobby because one, I like to do it in my free time. What was the other car for? Oh, it's outside of schoolwork, so it's outside of
Oh.
schoolwork. Nothing to do with anything actually. When you walk, it has nothing to do with anything. So I love walking. And listening to music, I'd say that is a hobby.
Do you listen
Cause
to music when you walk?
yes,
Mm.
I listen to all sorts of things when I walk. Podcasts. I
Yes.
listen to some of our episodes while walking,
Nice.
and I
Nice.
suggest you guys do the same. Multitasking, it's
Yes.
great. Yeah.
Great plug.
Shameless self
Yeah.
promo.
So yeah, I'd say those are my big three: playing video games, going on walks, and listening to music. What about you?
um, I'm a bit envious because I actually don't have a hobby.
No, don't say
No,
that.
that's
Don't
not
say that.
true.
See,
I'm sure you have
I think you just have to
something.
think about it because, like I said earlier,
Okay.
a lot of people don't put labels on it because they just do things they enjoy. So I'm sure there's something you do frequently, but you just don't call it a hobby.
Yeah.
But it
That's
is a
true. I
hobby.
think that's the case. I think
Yeah.
it's just random things I do throughout the day, and like, yes, sometimes I find them like entertaining per se, but I don't just consider them a distinct hobby.
What's something you do to unplug?
I lay in bed and look at the ceiling.
That, you know, thinking can be a hobby. I think so.
Really?
Because otherwise, what am I doing all day? I mean, I do the same thing.
Wait, actually, true. What if you're just thinking you're philosophical? Is philosophy a hobby?
True.
It can be.
Yeah, it can be.
Yeah, no, that's true. I like what you said about learning.
Mm-hmm.
Do I necessarily enjoy learning and go out of my way? Not necessarily like in that sense of what you explain for yourself, but I guess like I do enjoy learning new words.
Yes,
I
that's
guess
so cool.
I think it's fun because like I'm able to insert different synonyms instead of me searching it up.
Yeah. Essay writing is so much easier for you, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
It does help. It really does help.
Yeah.
And then like I don't know. I just think it's more unique.
Do you like getting into like the etymology of words and figuring out where they come from, or is that not really it?
No, not necessarily that.
You could be a poet.
Just using big words.
Yeah. Azan the poet.
You'd be a great poet.
Thank
I'm
you.
sure.
Thank you. I don't think
That's
so.
a hobby.
But yeah,
It's a hobby.
It's a hobby.
You could get into that. I did that.
that is my hobby.
I was an Instagram poet for like a good year.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
It was okay. I was. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a phase.
Okay.
That is one other thing. Sometimes hobbies truly are just phases.
Yep. That's
Sometimes
true.
hobbies just come and go, and then sometimes they last way longer than you expected them to. Like you get into something and you're like, why did I do this? Because now I can't stop. I'll like hyperfixate on something after like a couple times, and then, or sometimes you'll get something for a hobby and then you'll realize that you need supplies for that hobby, right? Like,
Yeah.
for example, crafting. And then you buy all the supplies and you do it once and you're like, I don't care about it anymore. Like, you'll get so into it and you'll be like, I need the best supplies. I'm
no,
getting
that
like
happens
to
to
the
me.
next level, so I need to buy the
Yeah.
things. And then you forget about it and you never touch it again.
And it's just there, and you have to look at it.
right?
Yeah, definitely have experienced that. I think as a kid, I had quote unquote more hobbies. Like you guys said, arts and crafts. I was really like a crafty kid.
I was crafty.
And then I collected Pokemon cards. I guess that was a hobby.
I begged my parents for a sewing machine one Christmas.
No way.
I got it. I got the sewing machine. I was probably 8 or 9.
And you used it once and never again.
Close. I used it for like 2 years, and I hadn't touched it again until like this year.
You know, I actually want to learn how to sew. I do.
I got you.
I feel
I'll
it'd be a
teach
nice
you. Really?
skill.
I
It'd be a nice
yeah.
skill.
It's a nice skill, and like everyone has shirts and stuff that like
Yeah.
I can sew by hand, which
Nice.
is maybe why, like, unless you're like making something from scratch, it's not worth it to buy a sewing machine. I'll tell you that now.
Yeah.
If you're just needing to like sew a shirt back up and fix it,
You can just,
that's
yeah.
easy to do by hand.
That's true.
And it's probably better to do by hand. The only like, yeah, it's just easier to do it by hand. But yeah, so make sure you're really invested in a hobby before you spend a bunch of money on supplies for it. That's the moral of the story.
Yeah, and I guess kind of shifting towards how people can find a hobby. What would you guys say are like, not pro tips per se, but like pro tips?
Try a little bit of everything.
I agree. I think you have to try everything. See what you like, see what you don't like. Because obviously there's going to be things that you don't like, and you're not going to know that you don't like them unless you go and try them. But I also think one of the most important parts of finding a hobby is the environment that you put yourself in. So if you're
Yeah.
surrounded by a bunch of people who, just random example, say you're surrounded by a bunch of people who don't like singing or are not into singing and you want to get into singing, it's going to be a lot harder for you to, find people to help you on that journey or help you get better at singing, get introduced to singing, as opposed to say you're in an area or a lot of your friends are into singing. It's going to be a lot easier to pick up. And I think that's a big thing, the people you surround yourself with and the environment you're in.
And also going off of that, like, don't let fear or embarrassment get in your way. You shouldn't be embarrassed about the things you like to do or are interested in. But also no one should make you feel that way. But also, like, honestly, the fear and embarrassment are the things that are going to prevent you from enjoying those experiences, and then it will feel more like work and less like a hobby.
I agree. And also, I feel like there's like the stigma that people think you have to be good at a hobby. You don't have to be good or bad or anything. You just have to do it and enjoy it. I think that's the most important part. Like, for example, for me, I had like this chess phase for like 2 months, like 2 years ago. I don't know why, but it was literally everywhere. Like, everyone was playing it. It was like blowing up, and all my friends were playing it. So I just started to play, and then they played me, and they just literally for 2 months straight, they just kept beating me. I don't think I won a single game, but it was fun, and I enjoyed it. So I'd say for that 2 months, I say chess was a hobby I had for them.
Man, that reminds me of me and my sister used to play Just Dance all the time. Oh my gosh. That game, I love it, and I end up getting like a workout from that game, I swear, because I am the person who dances all out for that game. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I go all out because I wanted to get the high scores. My sister has the high score for I think every single song except for maybe 1 or 2 on that
No
game.
way.
I used to have 1, and it was one of the hardest songs in the entire game, and then she beat me and I got so mad. And the thing is, she doesn't even dance full out. Like, if the game tells me to roll on the floor, I'm gonna roll on the floor.
Oh,
She's
okay.
not
She
that
like
kind of
cheats the
person.
system.
She cheats the system,
No.
but
Okay.
she has the high
They
scores
score.
on the game.
Actually, now that you
I
bring
still
that
need to
up,
get over that. I think that's a wound.
since Just Dance is a video game, I've noticed that for a lot of people who have video gaming as one of their hobbies, they play it for they play a lot, but they're not that good. But no one
No.
cares, right?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter.
It's
So,
just fun.
Yeah, it's fun. So if you're looking to find a new hobby, just don't be afraid to fail, or if people laugh at you, because no one really cares, right? If you're bad, who cares if you're bad at something?
It's supposed to give you pleasure, not
Yeah.
other people pleasure for what you're doing, if it's good or not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I know, like, trying new things can be hard sometimes. And also just, like, not even fear of not being good, but just fear of getting started and being the only beginner. Or just, like, fear of just anything like that can be really hard to get through. I think I am fortunate in the fact that my parents were people who strived to, like, throw a bunch of different opportunities at me as a kid, so they were always making me do different extracurriculars. I did swimming, I did music, I did my mom forced me to do boxing.
No way.
Yeah, I told her it was a boy sport, and then she was like, no, let's get that out of your head. You're gonna do boxing. And I did boxing for, I think, a year, maybe a year and a half.
How'd you like it?
Better than I expected,
Okay.
honestly. I was an angry kid at the time, so it was nice to be able to let my frustrations out.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, even hobbies can also serve a purpose in your life at times, is something that I just kind of stumbled upon there. Of, obviously that hobby served a purpose in my life at that time because I needed the discipline. Kind of like a lot of kids do karate and they say they get discipline from that. Boxing is very similar in that way.
Yeah, I did. I think I forgot it was mixed martial arts for like 2 years.
Yeah.
I don't know if I enjoyed it or not, but it was an interesting experience.
Yeah. And I don't think you have to enjoy it, I don't think you have to necessarily either enjoy it or be good at it to get something out of it.
That is true.
So even if you, like, try a hobby and you're like, this sucks, I hate it, I never want to do it again, you at least got something out of it. Either it taught you, hey, this is something that I don't really care for, or maybe it taught you something more valuable than that.
No, you're completely right.
You can't lose when you try a hobby. You honestly can't.
You're right. I think, like we kind of touched upon, just try everything. Like Shakira said, right? Like, just try everything. And if it works out, that's awesome. If not, try again.
Yeah.
Or
Or try something else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Actually, let's give it a specific example. Can you guys think of something where you tried it and A, you either didn't enjoy it, or B, you just forgot about it and you kind of like went on like a different path?
Swimming.
Swimming?
It was my sister's thing, not mine. I did it for probably like maybe 2 years. I mean, I had been swimming longer than that, but not like lessons or anything like that. But I had lessons once a week, and I hated it. Partially because the teacher, and partially because it was on like a competitive level system, and I just always felt behind, because I like water, I just don't like the water getting in your ears, and I didn't like the swim cap, and I didn't like all that kind of stuff, and so I was just like, and I wasn't gonna do swim competitively. I never wanted to do swim competitively, but like, the higher up you got, the more you were basically training for competitive swimming. It was just swimming back and forth rather than actually just like free swim. I would have much rather done like free swim. And I just really didn't like it. I think I would have liked it if it was just more relaxed and self-paced, I think.
Wait, that reminds me of something. So you brought up two examples of one swimming and the other one boxing, and I just realized I did the same things as a kid, and that makes me think like I wonder how many like hobbies people have that like it wasn't their general intention of getting into, but like they found joy doing it. Because I know a lot of kids, it's not usually because kids don't have control of anything. It's usually like their parents, older siblings that get them into things, and maybe they like it, maybe they don't, and they keep doing it. So it's just something random I thought of, like
Yeah.
how many hobbies weren't intentional, but people just found joy in them later
Yeah,
on.
I had a lot of friends growing up who were forced to learn piano. Um, I wished I was one of those kids because now I wish I knew how to play piano. So, like, I'm kind of jealous of them that they had to learn, but most of them don't even like playing piano. They were just literally forced to learn by their parents, and they just got thrown into it. So, some of them like it still, some of them don't. It's kind of a mixed bag.
No, yeah. I can't really think of anything right now, but I definitely do resonate with what you guys are saying.
Yeah.
I guess we can transition on to the effect a hobby has on our mental health. I know earlier we talked about it being low maintenance. That's one of the key things to look for when finding a hobby, because its main purpose is for you to find joy and relax. You don't want to be, well, you can put in a lot of extra effort, but as we mentioned earlier, oftentimes that can be a sticky situation, and if that foundation fails, other aspects of your life and your mental health might fall as well. So it's good to have that, have stability and a foundation in doing so. Another thing is that it keeps you active, right? It's something to do. And that's another important thing, is just doing something. I know for me, a lot of the times, we talked about hobbies coming, going, hobbies fading. Sometimes there'll be, areas of my life or times of my life where I don't really enjoy anything. Have you guys ever had that?
Yes.
Like you don't find joy in anything?
Yeah.
So I think I think it was last winter or the winter before that, where school ended. It was winter break. I literally had nothing to do, and the hobbies I already had, I didn't enjoy. So I had nothing to do, and something I didn't know was that I had to actively try to find something to do. So if you don't find joy in what you're doing, it's okay. Just be patient and actively try to find things that bring you joy. And I think that's something I learned,
Yeah.
to just actively try.
And hobbies can, like I said, they're always shifting, so they can come and go. Even if you've been doing something for like years and years and it used to bring you joy and it doesn't anymore, don't force it. If it doesn't bring you joy, you can come back to it later. You don't have to focus on that now if you don't want to. I know sometimes it can be like tempting to just push through it and say, oh, it'll get better, but sometimes it just takes going away from something for it to become that much more valuable. I know, because I have been singing so long, after a while it did get kind of competitive. Not competitive because everyone else was like better than me, because I wasn't competing or performing in front of everyone. Just more in my brain, I was getting like the critic in my brain saying, oh, you're terrible, you suck, stop, why do you even practice, you're not getting better, stuff like that. And so it took like taking maybe like a couple months off for me to realize how much I missed doing it, and then come back and then realize that like it was more in my mind than it was anything.
I actually love that. Super, super random example. Maybe it's because I'm just hungry, but I love the idea of taking like intentional breaks. So, you guys ever have like this one dish or like food that you really, really, really like, and it's good every time you have it because you rarely have it. But if you have it
Yeah.
like every day of the week, it's
You
like
get
by like
sick of
Friday
it.
or like the sixth day, it's like, okay, this is whatever now. I don't really want I don't really like this anymore, and then you get tired of it. So I think taking intentional breaks
Yeah.
is lovely.
Keep it special.
Definitely, and I think that a lot of people actually have hobbies to kind of help divert their minds in a way, right? Like, it's a nice way to distract yourself from other stresses you might have, or just other things that are going on. It's
Absolutely.
kind of escapism, right?
Yeah.
That's why I play video games. It's like
Yep.
metaphorically and kind of physically now you can be
Yeah, step
in a
into
different
another
world.
world.
So
That's a
yeah.
perfect example.
Yeah.
And research actually shows that people with hobbies are less likely to suffer from depression, stress, and low mood, which is awesome.
Nice. And I think it's also a coping mechanism too.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, a lot of them. There are probably some that take a little bit more work and probably wouldn't help in the moment. But
Yeah, but for the main part, they're usually there to keep you relaxed.
Yeah.
And, like, just keeps you busy without it being another stress.
yeah.
That's true. Something I just thought of is sometimes I'll randomly use one of my hobbies as like an excuse to not do like work. And honestly, now that I think about it, every single time it was worth it. Like I don't think there was a single time where I regretted it. It was during the time I was like deciding not to do work or like laying it off. I was like, oh, am I making the right choice? But honestly, now that I think about it, looking back like a couple years or whatever, like especially in like high school, I'd say it was definitely worth it. But again, with that being said, it's good to have balance. But,
I was gonna say,
yeah.
I'm glad you can say
Yeah.
that because I cannot say the same thing.
But honestly, yeah, if something like disturbs the peace of your heart, just let it go for a while and then come back to it later.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else do we have? Is there anything you guys want to say? Any?
Kind of going off of that, I think sometimes it's important to make intentional time to take part in your hobbies. Like sometimes it's easy to forget about them because you're so focused on, whatever you're doing in the moment that you don't think about. Like honestly, I haven't played ukulele in a really long time. It's just kind of been sitting in my room for the past couple months because I haven't really thought about picking it up and starting to play. So maybe I should set aside some time to do that at some point, or
Yeah. The thing, so I kind of have that same thing, but for reading, right? Like I'll get books, but I don't read them.
reading.
So the books are just sitting there.
Yeah.
And it's bad because I'll have like books that I haven't read and I'll still get more books. So it's like piling up. But the thing is, I don't want to.
That is a very normal experience.
I don't want to force myself to read because then I feel like it'll like take away some of the joy.
Yeah.
So
I think reading is one of those hard ones too because you do so much reading for school that after a while it's hard to read for fun because you're so busy reading things you don't want to read that you don't feel like you have the time or energy to read the things you do want to read. So, yeah, that's my problem with books.
Yeah, I don't want to force myself to read, but I'm afraid if I never force myself, I'll never do it.
That's fair.
So,
yeah.
Maybe I'll go home and force myself to read today.
Sometimes it's just taking 5 minutes to be like, okay, I'm going to read for 5 minutes, and then I usually get sucked into the book so much that I can't stop. But at least just giving myself an out if I want it, then I have that out to be like, okay, well, I tried, and maybe today's not the day. Or maybe I just don't want to stare at words on a screen. So I do something else.
I find it so interesting how varied the types of hobbies are. Like, for example, you could put a lot of time into it and go to, like, choir and, like, expand on it.
Yeah.
Or you could play video games. I know my friend... she says it's a hobby, and she loves to go thrifting at different every time she travels.
I was gonna say that earlier. Like, I think going to places can be like considered a hobby too. Like,
Oh,
travel.
absolutely.
It's expensive, right? But it is a hobby.
Absolutely.
It's a very expensive one.
There are people who are super into that too, and like make a point to like habitually do it, and then like keep track of what they get and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like I think that's so cool.
So she used to be like on a competitive soccer team, and so that when they would fly out, she would every city that they would stay at, she would go thrifting and try to find something,
awesome.
and it's like a collectible, right?
Okay, wait. I just realized something's a hobby that we haven't talked about. Have you guys ever collected anything?
I know you talked about collecting Pokemon cards when you were little.
Yeah,
Ooh,
I did.
That's a hobby. I
Um,
mean, yeah.
I don't think I've collected anything. Yeah, no. Well, in video games, I've collected things, but like
That's,
physical things.
Well, I guess
Yeah, because
video
it's like
games
in.
itself is a hobby. Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, sometimes I collect random, just little pieces of stationery, I guess you could say.
Ooh.
Or like just random like items that I like if I'm traveling or if I'm like going to the city for a day and I just find something really cool and just like kind of cool, I'll buy it. It's just like, kind of like a memorabilia almost.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of nice. That's I
Yeah.
guess could be viewed as a hobby.
I didn't I didn't like in my mind say, hey, I'm gonna collect this, but I love mini versions of things.
Oh, like
Ooh.
mini cups and like mini.
Yes, exactly. Or like when hotels give you like free samples of like shampoo and conditioner.
Yeah.
Do I ever use those? No, but do I love the little bottles they come in? Yes, I will collect those all day.
Oh,
every
like the
day.
stuff they give on planes
Yeah,
too.
yes, absolutely. Or like just like mini anything, but if it's functional, it gets bonus points. Like if it actually works as what it's supposed to be, that's the best.
Those mini shower stuff are convenient.
Yeah.
They are.
What I would do, kind of random, but what I would do is that during PE, during our swim unit, when I would have those extra ones, I'd put them in my locker.
That's so smart.
And so I would just keep them in my locker. So when I take my shower, like in the locker room, I would just like use those.
See, I would feel guilty using those because they're part of my collection. So like
Okay.
I couldn't do that personally, but that is very smart. But yeah, like I didn't even know that I was collecting those things, but like I would just carry these. I don't know why. I'm weird about things. I used to, as a kid, literally pick up shiny things off the ground, like on the
same.
playground.
Like rocks. You guys ever collect rocks?
Oh, my sister was a rock collector.
I did for like, no, like I tried to get into it. I just kept on forgetting to pick a rock.
See, you get to the point where my parents got mad at my sister because she was picking up the rocks that people pay to put on their lawn, and so they would be like, "Don't take those ones," but she would continue, like the white sparkly ones.
Okay, yeah.
But like,
they
there's
look
so many of those
pretty.
anyways.
Yeah, there are, but at the same time, like someone
Yeah.
paid to put them there, so like, but like, yeah, she would get in trouble because she would pick those ones up.
That's cool.
I was looking through my phone for like pictures of like cats because when I go on my walks I'll take pictures of cats because there's like a bunch of random stray cats where I
Yeah.
live
Oh,
and they're
cool.
everywhere and I see like a different cat every day, so I guess in a sense I collect pictures of cats. I guess you can collect pictures, so does that count?
I think
Yeah,
so.
no, for sure. And you just reminded me of something because I think, well, let me go on this tangent first. There's a difference between active hobbies and passive hobbies, I think. If you make a point to do something, that's more of an active hobby, but if you just fall into doing something and it just is something that tends to happen, I feel like that's a passive hobby. One of my passive hobbies is bird/nature watching, but not like actually out in nature. I mean in my backyard. My
that is nature.
No, just wait. Here. My dad got a birdhouse, I think last year, and it took a while. But once the birds found about it, I guess they told their friends that are also birds that there was food at this house, and so we would get birds all the time, which was nice. But what you don't realize about having a bird feeder is it brings other wildlife into your backyard as well. So we would get stray cats. We have various squirrels that come into our backyard, and we can recognize them because they have distinct features, and we've named them.
Yep, same
We've
here.
named our cats. My dad has started putting out trays of, he bought peanuts, and
Cool.
would put a tray out for the squirrels, and so they would just
Aw.
perch on, we have like this like tower of bricks in our backyard.
Because the squirrels would go on the bird feeder, but that's for the birds. But you still want to
Yeah,
feed the squirrels. We did the exact same
exactly.
thing.
Yeah.
So it started off with like a bird feeder on a tree, but like the squirrels would get on there, and it got to a point where like cats would go on there too.
Oh.
Yeah.
So there'd be birds that come first, and the squirrels come. So the birds are there to eat, and the squirrels come and scare away the birds, and then so the squirrels eating, and then the cats come, and the cats scare away the squirrels. And then one time, like this pit bull broke the fence to scare away the cat. So it's like this whole cycle.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Circle
we
of
haven't
life.
had a dog,
Yeah.
but we do definitely get stray cats that are not very nice to the birds. But, you know, there's like, we have our glass screen door that's overlooking all of this, and so sometimes we'll just sit and watch all of this stuff happen. So in a way, that's like a passive way of watching nature. That's a hobby too.
Did we talk about that earlier? Passive and active hobbies.
I
So
think
I
we
didn't even
touched
think
upon
about
it,
that.
Yeah. I have a question. Do you guys think apps on your phone and social media is a
Yes.
passive hobby?
Yes, because
Yeah.
I think earlier you said something about Instagram. I think watching YouTube is a hobby.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
So
Now
like
that I
watching
think about it,
watching
yeah.
shows is a hobby.
That's
So
true.
It is.
okay, you don't even have to like watch, like critique them, like you know.
You don't even have to be like super into a show in order to
Yeah.
see it as a hobby.
No, yeah, 100%. I think social media is a hobby. 100%.
Yeah.
Okay, then I guess I will say my hobby then. I guess my hobby is going on Twitter.
Oh my gosh.
I have- I go on Twitter way too often. And like it's not even me, like I don't
could
tweet.
never.
And I don't like necessarily like actively participate on Twitter.
Yeah, I'm
No.
the same way.
But like
There's just so
I-
many things going on.
I find it so
Um,
relieving. I find it so
yeah.
entertaining. Like it's a nice way to pass the time. Like
See, mine used to be TikTok.
ooh,
I really
okay.
liked watching TikToks, but I felt like crap after watching TikTok for
Yeah,
too long.
no, I
And
agree.
I had to stop, so I took it off of my home screen, and now I only go on like maybe once a month, maybe twice a month. But like that used to be it for me. And my sister, she did cosplay for a while, so like she was like on TikTok, like that was her hobby.
Oh,
That's another
cool.
hobby, is like cosplaying or dressing up as your favorite characters, stuff like that.
Going to a convention, right?
Yeah,
Another example,
exactly.
like how going somewhere is a hobby.
Yeah, I would totally do that. I'm such a nerd.
I don't know if I could ever do that.
Aw. Yeah.
No, I want to definitely get the experience of a convention. I want to just like
Yeah.
experience that. You know, I feel like there's so many like YouTubers and like just watching other people go to conventions. I just want to go to one just to
If you're a
experience it
person that
myself.
goes to conventions or travels, that's a hobby. Like,
Oh, I love traveling.
until you talk about hobbies, you don't really realize how many
Yeah.
things
No, you're right.
actually
I
are
literally
hobbies.
can't- yeah.
Like I
you're
said at
right.
the start, people don't label them. So I'm sure for a lot of the people listening and watching, even, I'm sure there are things you do that are hobbies, and yeah,
Yeah.
just you don't label them as a hobby, so you don't know.
No, you guys are right. Like, I mean, I literally said I have no hobbies,
Yeah.
but I mean, you guys just
Yeah.
talking about it. I was like, okay, I guess I have some. I guess
Yeah.
okay.
Because I find it hard to believe that someone is like working literally 24/7. There has to be something you're doing when you're even cooking is a hobby.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
like people.
I
will,
mean, not for everybody.
Yeah,
For
yeah,
some
yeah.
people, cooking's not
Yeah.
a hobby, but
Yeah.
it
So
can be.
No, but what you said about traveling, I love traveling. That's just
I
that's
love
also something I just find so fun and refreshing.
Yeah. Are you a planner when you travel? Or
Um,
are you
yes
more
and
of a
no.
site, like you like making up the plan when you're there?
It kind of mix of both. I like having some sort of plan. This way, like, I'm not just there. I'm like, what do I do now? But it's not like a really rough guide. It's just like a little, like a couple notes, I guess, of what I want to do, and I
Yeah.
kind of, and I get like a mental like note of like what I want to do, and then if it doesn't fall in line, oh well. But just like
Yeah.
this way, I'm not like completely confused.
See, you've practiced it. You have a strategy. That is that is a hobby.
I wish I could do it more, but
Oh,
Yeah.
we all do, I'm sure. Man, I wish I could travel more. That would be nice.
And with that, I mean, did you guys have anything else to say? Like, wanted to add or?
I just feel like I'm surprised by how many hobbies exist.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I knew a lot of hobbies
Yeah.
exist.
No, because like as we kept talking, like and when you were like talking about like the squirrel in like your backyard, I saw like gardening as a hobby, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So there's so many hobbies. A hobby could be literally anything. So
I can.
and we definitely don't have time to talk about all of them.
No.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I think I don't have anything else to say.
Yeah.
Cool. I guess to cap it off with our note to self.
Yes.
The finest thing about a hobby is that you can't do anything pretending about it. You either like it or you don't. By Dorothy Draper.
Wow.
I think it's a really nice quote and like it's very true.
Yeah, I feel like it just restated what we said
Yeah.
in
Exactly.
this episode, really.
If you like it, do it. If you don't, don't.
That's
you know?
okay.
Yeah.
No judgment. And if you're not good at it and you still want to do it, do it.
Who cares?
Yeah.
I think that's it from us.
Yeah. Bye.
Thank you all for watching. Or listening.
Or both.